Well, good morning, everybody, from who knows what's happening, Atlanta. Yes, nobody still knows really what's going to happen. I've looked at a couple weather sources here, and they disagree. And when they disagree, that means nobody knows what's going to happen. I feel like one of them is just deciding to give worst case scenario, and one's probably giving, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen scenario. So, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. I'm not worried about it. I've got food as long as we keep power. Things are going to be fine. And, if we lose power, I have quilts that'll hopefully keep me and Riley a little bit warm. We'll see. Uh, Basically, what everything looks like, and this is me just interpreting what is going on. My smartphone thinks it's going to stay well above freezing between today and tomorrow, even though it thinks that it's going to snow for a bit overnight. Who knows what that means that we are going to wake up to tomorrow? I will let you know tomorrow. And then it's going to be basically all rain tomorrow. We're not going to get hardly any precipitation today until after dark. But it's going to turn into rain tomorrow. And then tomorrow night into Monday, it's supposed to drop below freezing. Handful of degrees below freezing. So who knows exactly what that means for the roads, because everything is still going to be wet, but the ground should probably still be mostly warm, except the fact that it's been getting wet. So I'm probably working from home Monday is the short of everything, because nobody knows what the weather is going to be. But while we are, trying to figure out what the weather will be, I'm here. I am sewing more flying geese, and hopefully soon I'll be able to start putting these blocks together, which would mean that I will be able to get this quilt top done, which I think is going to be the more exciting part. Before we get to the sewing, let's see who has popped in. Good morning, Candace, who says hello, everyone. Good morning, Julie, who says good morning from cold, snowy Arkansas. Hope we keep power. I hope you keep power too, because you can't sew without power unless you want to do handwork and stuff. But I'm allergic to handwork. I don't know about you. Good morning, Mary, who says good morning from freezing Minnesota. Stay warm. Hope you have plenty of quilts to keep under. Good morning, Charlotte, who says very cold Texas. Yeah, again, stay warm. Good morning, Duvraka, who is accustomed to the cold a little bit. Good morning, Colleen. How are you doing? So, as I said, and as the title card thing says, I have the Arctic Elegance quilt pattern, which is a really fun pattern, although it has a lot of snowballs. And last week, I worked on this pile of flying geese, which frankly I've only got one side done. I need to get them pressed back and trimmed, but I said, I've got more flying geese to do the other side, so I decided that I was going to get this side done, and then that just means I have a giant pile of 224 geese that I'm going to have to press and trim. Then I can get the rest of everything off on. So it should hopefully be a simple thing. Julie says she has her treadle set up. Okay, that's good. I've never used a treadle, but that's besides the point. Good morning, Ingrid. Work emergencies aren't good. Hopefully you can, smack the person who caused the emergency upside the head and stuff, so that they learn that they're not supposed to be making emergencies for you on weekends. So I'm going to pop over to Sewing Cam because people like to watch what I'm doing. So just like I did last week, I am taking my square, lining it up with the rectangle, and sewing it through. And I think there's one thing that I did not talk about last week, and I didn't realize I didn't talk about it until this morning as I was waking up. I said, did I say that? And I probably didn't. So my logic in creating flying geese is I like to do one side, then the other, because you have to do one side, the other. You can't do both at the same time, Russ. That's a stupid statement to say. But I will do both sides from the center point. And the reason why I do that, it may be slightly more comfortable to sew your flying geese this way for one side and then this way for the other side, so that the little bit of fabric is on the inside and your bulk of your fabric is on your table like normal. But the reason why I don't like to start from this corner is because this point down here likes to get sucked down into the feed dogs. It doesn't happen all the time. I've tried it with brand new needles. I've tried it with... the only thing that I haven't tried it with is the needle plate that is a single hole instead of the zigzag plate that I have in here. But I have tried it with the single hole needle plate on another machine, and I'll still decide to get sucked down there every now and then. It doesn't happen all the time. It's an every now and then. So to keep me from having to yell at my machine and pull things out and rip and everything, I just decide to always do my flying geese from the center side to the point. And that will just help keep everything from getting sucked down into the machine. That's just the whole point. I can come in here, I can line that point that's up at the top up there. A lot of people love to draw the line. I have a laser pointer and diagonal seam tape on my machine so that I don't have to take all of that extra time and draw a line. I can just follow the line and send it through. Duvraka says, very cold there. Minus 40 with the wind chill now in Northern Ontario. And for the people who don't know what minus 40 is, that's almost where Celsius and Fahrenheit come together. I think it's like minus 41 or minus 42 that it actually is the same between Celsius and Fahrenheit. So, yeah, it's cold. So basically everybody in the world knows how cold that is. I'm sorry, Duvraka, that it's that cold. I don't think I've ever been that cold, which is a good thing. Good morning, Judy. How you doing? Good morning, Lele, who says, yay, made it to a live with Russ. Thank you for joining. They happen once a week, at least. There will be another one tomorrow, actually, as we are getting close to finishing the Kona 2025 block of the month. Good morning, Janice. I'm trying to remember if I got your name right, the right way. I'm like, that sounds like it's the right name. I'm bad with names. I'm sorry if I said the wrong one. But I think I got it right. Lele says she usually watches the replay. Watching replay is just as good as watching live. But the thing with watching live is you get to say hi and chit chat and, you know, try to distract me and stuff so that I make mistakes. Mistakes aren't the end of the world. But the interaction with everybody is what makes it so great. I was just really confused because I pulled off a handful of pieces and they were all right side up. And I'm like, why are they all right side up? Because when they're cut, obviously they're cut with the wrong sides together. And then I remembered back in October, I pulled a handful of pieces out. I lined them up, all right sides up, so that I can just pop them down on the sewing table until I realized I had the wrong fabric. So I had to pull everything out. The first couple pieces that I sewed had stitch marks on it because they had already gone through the machine. Judy says, unless the power goes out, Russ. Yeah, we don't want the power to go out. We want everybody to keep power in this storm. I don't care what happens. And now Stephanie has made me sad. Good morning, Stephanie, who has no power. I hope you get your power back soon. Stay warm, my friend. Janice says I got her name right. Okay, good. And Duvraka confirmed that they meet at -40. Okay, good morning, sweet granny. It's 0 Fahrenheit in Western Pennsylvania. Please stay safe out there. And you stay safe out there and in there. Good morning, Cynthia, who says it's cold in Long Island. I don't mean to giggle, but that just seems to be the topic of everybody is it is freaking cold. It hasn't particularly gotten cold here yet. Like I said, I know it's coming. My computer says that we are currently 43. So we are pretty warm in comparison to a lot of y'all. But that doesn't mean that it's not coming. Good morning, Josie, who says hi, Russ, and everyone in the chat. Lots of time indoors to sew with this winter weather. Fingers crossed the power stays on. See, Josie's looking at the right on the bright side of life. It's going to be cold, but it gives us time to spend in our sewing room. It's just like a rainy day, except just chillier. And, you know, as long as the HVACs are working and as long as the power doesn't go out, then we should all be fine. The one thing that I would say is a little bit of a positive in my situation is I'm really close to the power substation. So when we do have power outages, we are usually pretty quick in getting our power back. So there's that hope of positivity if we lose power. I'm hoping we don't. Usually it requires, some crazy storms and some trees falling for us to lose power. Ooh, okay. So Stephanie says hopefully they're supposed to get it back this afternoon. It was an accident. Somebody ran into a transformer. That doesn't sound good. It's -10. So hopefully we're back sooner than later. Yes, hopefully. 26 in North Carolina, expecting snow and ice at 4. I'm feeling a little lucky based on y'all's forecasts that y'all are getting. Because like I said, the weather, I think we're supposed to stay in the 40s through the day. Let me pull up my forecast hour by hour. Yep, we're going to be staying in the 40s through the day. It's not supposed to start thinking about raining until probably 7 or 8. And then it's not going to be until about midnight 1 where flakes will be coming down. But the temperature's still going to be like in the upper 30s. So I don't think that's going to really stick if our ground is still in the 40s. And then by the time that we wake up tomorrow, it's going to be trying to convert to rain and it's still going to be in the mid 30s. So yeah, today to tomorrow, I'm not totally concerned. It's tomorrow into Sunday that I'm concerned here because it's going to be rainy all day tomorrow. And then tomorrow night into Monday, it's going to get down into the 20s. And that's where the problems would happen. Janice is in Durham, which means she's probably going to be going to QuiltCon next month. If you are going to be at QuiltCon, Janice, we need to, say hi because I'm going to be there. And, anybody else who sees me at QuiltCon, welcome to say hi. Cheryl says it's so cold in southwestern Pennsylvania that all of her safety systems in her Jeep shut down and it won't let her start it. That's cold. I thought Jeeps are supposed to be super rugged and good in all weather and stuff. So it's also another reason why I'm happy that I have a garage to park in. Good morning, Crocus Photographer. Home generators aren't particularly a thing here in Metro Atlanta. I can't speak for Stephanie. She may have actually logged off by now because she doesn't have power. But I can't say that I've seen many places here say that they have home generators. And I think a majority of the reason is because our weather, if we lose power, we only lose power for a couple hours. And in the summer, it may be very uncomfortable, but you can open up windows or go outside to cool off a little bit if it gets too hot inside. And then in the winter time, we're not usually super cold. So if we lose power, the house usually tries to stay warm for a couple hours. I've never been in a situation where I've needed a home generator, or the idea of a home generator, because I would have been without power for more than a few hours. Except for that one time, however many years ago, when we were living in South Carolina and we had Hurricane Hugo come through, because that our power was out for like, I think we were without power for a month. We lost track of days because I think school was out for like a month and a half or 2 months. I just remember we're like, how do we have phone when the power isn't back on? And now that I'm an adult, I understand that there's a lot different infrastructure on power versus electricity, even though the lines are running through the same poles. And as I was saying a minute ago, Crocus Photographer, where I live, I am basically next door to the power substation. We have like a swamp area between my neighborhood and the substation. And we have some stuff that goes out from our neighborhood to the main road. So if they want to keep the main road running, they have to keep our neighborhood going. So we're usually like kind of early in the recovery. The last time that I remember we had I'm just going to say a longer outage, it was a Sunday morning. And I remember this because I was having one of my sewing shenanigans days. And I'm like, I'm going to have to join from my phone because my computer's not working. My internet's not working. Only thing that I have is my phone and its internet. So I remember going to grab breakfast because, again, I could not fix breakfast at home because no electricity. And I saw the power guys at the gas station, and I just halfway jokingly said, "Oh, are you coming to my house next to turn me back on?" And they asked where I lived, and I told them, and like by the time that I finished breakfast, they were fixing the line. And that time it was I guess we had a wind, and it had pulled, well, I don't know if it's pulled or if it was the transformer protecting itself, but the power line was disconnected from the transformer and on the ground. So they came and basically put everything back together, had them do all the safety checks, make sure things were working, and then the power came back on. Judy's asking, am I in Cobb or Paulding? I am in Cobb. I like to joke that I'm in basically the far west portion of East Cobb. Because I think the unofficial designation of East Cobb is east of Interstate 75. And I'm a stone's throw away from Interstate 75. I can hear the interstate when I take Riley out for our walks. So which was really weird when, I was up in Dahlonega for Stephanie's retreat, and you can hear nothing when you go outside. But I will tell you, if there is any thoughts of actual snow or ice, I refuse to go out because, one, people don't know how to act. My next door neighbor works for Publix, and he's been posting pictures the past couple of days of the Armageddon in the supermarket. And I'm like, I feel bad for you. But number two is we don't have the infrastructure to remove snow. It's such a rare occurrence that there's no point in buying the hundreds of thousands of plows that you need to dig out the state. I think we have a handful of them, and we have a few salt trucks and brine trucks. But again, it happens so rarely that when we do have something in the forecast, there's just not enough to take care of everything. So I'm just like, I'll let the folks who need to be out there go out in it, and hope that they aren't too far off of the trucks where the trucks are going to be salting and sanding and everything else. I do remember when I first moved here, we had a snow event. The weatherman said we had 6 inches. It was 3, if it was even that. And I had to get somewhere, and the roads weren't bad. So I go out, get in my truck, and I start brushing off everything with my snow brush. And I had neighbors coming out just kind of looking at me like, what is he doing? And they're like, what is that? And I'm like, it's a snow brush. Where did you get it? Ames. What's an Ames? It's a department store in Massachusetts. So they were just like in shock that I had a tool to clear off my car. I helped clear off a couple other cars because, otherwise they're trying to use their jackets to do this. And I was like, well, I've got this. I got to let my car warm up, or truck warm up anyway, so I can help you guys clear a little bit off. But after I think it was the 2014 incident, I'm just like, I am not going to go out if there's any risk of it. In 2014, we had what we will lovingly call Snowmageddon, or Ice Jam. All that. It was basically very intense. We were not thrilled. If I had left when I was supposed to, had left the office when I was supposed to, I would have only probably been stuck in traffic for about 3 or 4 hours. I waited like 20 minutes so that I could, because I had a coworker I was walking out with, and I was just, delaying and everything, because I'm like, it can't be that bad. It was. It took me 7.5 hours to get home. And it was just insane. There was a point, I'm on Interstate 75. I'm in the middle lane. I have to pee. And I just put my car in park because we weren't moving. Went off to the side of the road. Did my little tinkle. And got back in my car. We did not move an inch. And I didn't have my car charger for some reason. So I had to turn off my phone, and I turned it back on every few minutes just to check in on things. That's what I thought. I have a square that's not particularly square. I'm going to put that on the side just to see how I can fudge that. Because they didn't give us any extra fabric with these kits. So, yeah, it was a nightmare of a day. But I finally got home, and when I did get home, I parked at the bottom of my yard, which is against code, but I don't think anybody was going to come after me. Crocus Photographer says it's only -30 there in Regina. One more day and it gets better. Okay, well, as long as you can handle out one more day. So yeah, ever since 2014, I have zero plans on dealing with everybody else's stupidity if it's going to be potentially inclement weather. Which brings us to Monday coming up, because I'm like, the weather's not going to be the greatest. And we got an email from the powers that be at work saying the offices are going to be open per usual, so work with your manager if you need alternate solutions. So like I expected, things we would be working, but I kind of expected them, and they may change their mind depending on what the weather looks like Sunday night into Monday. Because my plan is probably working from home, because again, not certain what the weather's going to be. My driveway is steep, like literally this steep. So I'm just like, okay, that's going to be a little cold and dangerous if it's wet. So I've unofficially already decided I'm working from home on Monday, which means Wednesday, my normal work from home day, I'm going to have to be in the office. But it's a price that I am willing to pay in order to not have to deal with the stupid people out on the roads. And it's just the morning commute that I would deal with that, and that's when you have a bigger risk of black ice. And I like to keep my vehicle on the road properly. Cynthia says that they are going to get 27 inches of snow. I don't know what's worse to hear, is the number 27 or the phrase over 2 feet. And I don't remember what the ratio is, but there's basically math that says if you're getting this much snow, this is how much rain it would have been if it was raining. And I know the math is fuzzy because there's fluffy snow and then there's dense snow and all that other stuff. So I know it's very fuzzy math. But I would think that 27 inches of snow would be a heck of a lot of rain if it was above freezing. Of course, several inches of rain reminds me of, I forget how, it was a handful of years ago. Like, it was sometime between, I'm going to say, 3 and 5 years ago, just because math hard sometimes. We had some type of a microburst come through here, and my neighbor across the street said we got 6 inches of rain in 15 minutes. The rain was so heavy that somebody around the corner, they had just bought the house. They hadn't moved in yet. And they had a shed in their backyard that got taken away by the stream. Lele says that they are getting over a foot of snow with an inch of sleet on top in Northern Virginia. Yeah, no. If it's going to snow, keep snow. Don't mix in the sleet. I mean, I understand that puts a nice layer on top of everything to make it, look like it's going to stay longer. But it's not good. And I'm giggling because I'm remembering a story. Oh, I was young. Still living in South Carolina at the time, and we did get a winter storm where it snowed, then we got the layer of ice, like Lele's saying, and we were stuck home, obviously, because we weren't. Rural South Carolina has even less infrastructure to take care of things, so there was no way anybody was going outside. So we were home. Mom had made a couple strawberry cakes or something, and she says she told me to bring one of them next door to Grandmama, who I don't think I ever knew her name, but sweet lady. We were besties with her granddaughter because, we live next door. And so we were told to bring one. I was told to bring one next door to Grandmama. And I step outside and I try to go down one step on the porch, and I did not have the footing that I thought that I had. So the leg that was on the porch stayed, but the leg that was trying to go down a step obviously went crazy. I ended up tossing the cake, and it just went sliding like a hockey puck or something down, and I fell down the porch. I mean, I didn't fall far because there was that layer of ice, but yeah, it hurt, and it hurt for a couple days. But not one strawberry was damaged on the cake. So there was that. I basically grew up in South Carolina, and I didn't move to Massachusetts until I was going into 11th grade. So I had basically, or still have basically, no understanding of, how to operate life in the snow. I lived in Massachusetts 8 years, so I mean, I got a few things, but I remember in high school up there, we had to walk to school up hills both ways in the snow. I mean, yeah. And to get to school, we had to basically walk in front of and to the side of the pond. And in the wintertime, the pond would freeze. And as we all know, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So in the wintertime, the kids who had lived there all of their life would walk across the pond. Not the safest thing to do, in my opinion, because I had no idea, I didn't trust the fact that, it was thick enough to handle weight and everything, but I also didn't trust my ability to keep my footing on ice. So I had friends and stuff that were like, come on. I was like, no. If God had intended for us to walk on water, we'd all be Jesus. And they just look at me. So, no, I will not, walk on ice. I will say, doing these half square triangles, I know there's, half square triangles, flying geese. I know there's, what did I say, 224 of them that I have to do. Doing the same thing over and over again through the machine is kind of relaxing. It's going to be very boring and annoying when I have to, press everything and then trim everything. I hate that part. But I do not mind what other people call monotony of putting the same stitch through the machine over and over again. I'm like, this isn't too bad. And I'm sure everybody has heard, because I've said it a handful of times on my vlog and announcements, I have one sew along wrapping up, which is the Kona 2025 block of the month. I've got one more live that we are doing tomorrow, where we are working on some piano key borders. I still don't have the center of my quilt put together, but that's besides the point. I've still got plenty of time. But when I get the borders done, all that means is I'm just putting things together. And so I'm just like, okay, we'll get that done. And then next Saturday, I am starting the Sparkle More Block of the Month Sew Along. That one is being done through a local shop, but it's an in-person program only. But because the pattern is from 2022, it is very easy for you guys to purchase the pattern and get your own fabric and put it together with me if you want to join along. And then next Sunday, we are starting the Secret Garden sampler from, I think her name is Shelly Kavana, the same wonderful lady who brought us the Barnstar quilt. So if you've done the Barnstar quilt, you probably don't want to do the Secret Garden sampler because most of the blocks are the same. But if you, again, want to join, I think there's shops out there that still sell the kit if you want to do the original kit, or if you want to recolor it yourself with scraps or get your own yardage. That would be just as much fun. And then in March, we are starting the Chatsworth Block of the Month. We were supposed to start that in February, but David, who it's his idea to do Chatsworth, has a wedding that he completely forgot is the same weekend that we were planning on starting. And then the second weekend that we were going to sew in February is the weekend that I'm coming back from QuiltCon. So we just said, let's just delay it to March. It just pushes everything back a couple months. Not a big deal. So those are my directed sew-alongs. And then over on Stephanie's channel, Quilting with Stephanie Stitches, she is hosting the Solar Flare for Tula Pink Fabrics on her channel. It's something that a group of us had purchased while we were doing Dragon Fruit on her channel, and that's going to be a 7-month. I've been trying to sew, or not sew, cut the fabrics, and that's been slightly stressful. And then I think in April we are going to be doing or starting the Second Star to the Right from Art East, which is their Peter Pan pattern. So we have a lot that we are starting and working on. So I just basically need to get these other patterns that I'm trying to get done so I have room. Dana asks, why 244 flying geese? I think I said 224, but that's how many the pattern calls for, and that number is minus the 2 blocks that I have already completed. So if you're trying to do math as to how many blocks, blah 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 blah, it's a lot of blocks. There's X number of flying geese per block, and then if you take out the flying geese for the 2 blocks that I have done, and you add everything together, it's 224 flying geese. Which is a lot of flying geese. When I signed up for this pattern at the Quilt Cruise for October, it didn't occur to me that, there was so many so many pieces. And all of that. So it's gonna be a crazy. Sweet Granny is asking, what pattern am I doing next Saturday? The pattern is called Sparkle More. And it has a navy colorway that my shop is offering, which is the colorway I'm doing it. But they've also done it in a pink colorway. There is also like a holiday colorway. I was talking with the shop last weekend, and they said that there's apparently a Tula version, and unfortunately they're not offering Tula as a colorway for this program, but that's besides the point. Blah 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 blah. But it's by Melissa Mortensen, and the pattern's from Polka Dot Chair. I'll have the details in at least in next week's YouTube card, which I will be putting up soon. I thought I put it in this past week's vlog, but now I can't remember if I did that. So yeah, I got to make sure that I have things ready if you guys want to join along. It's a 10-month block in the month, but somehow the shop wants to do it as 12 months, so I don't know how they're planning on turning 10 months into 12. The cool thing about the Sparkle More is everything is granny squares. So you're sewing, well, the annoying thing is you're cutting at 3/8, which is not a number that quilters like, but it's life. And then you rotate the block 45 degrees and you trim it down to your 12.5. So not ideally, in practice, if you're using a 12.5-inch ruler to square it, you're going to get exactly 12.5-inch blocks. So people can't complain that they've got, they're off by 1/4 inch here, or 1/8 of an inch there. That happens. Like, we're all humans. That happens all the time. So I think, at least with the program that I'm doing with the shop, nobody can complain that their block size isn't the right size. They might complain that they have points cut off when they put it together, because your cutting and everything else is going to depend on how accurate that your points come out. But it looks like the way the program is doing is you're starting with a super basic granny square, and then each month they are doing more and more challenging squares. Or they're making a change to the pattern to make it more challenging, I should say. And they're doing it in slow steps, so you're not going to be unprepared for the next step. It's not like they tell you to do just a basic granny square, and the next one you're going to have flying geese and quarter square triangles all through it. No, the pattern is building your skill. It's a good skill builder pattern. So I'm excited for that. Dana's asking, what quilt pattern am I making now? You're late to the party, I know. It is called Arctic Elegance, from Matthew Pridemore. Heidi, his wife, taught this at the cruise that I took back in October. And I bought the kit and everything through Stitch in Heaven. So and it's pre-cut, so I'm like, I learned it. I've got I've got the center square and squares all done. I've got the outside square and squares all done. So I might as well try to get the flying geese done so I can start putting it together. The closest thing that I have to a complaint with this pattern is everything is a snowball. So the flying geese are made the snowball method, and the square and squares were made snowball method. So you get to be pretty good with your snowballs. And if you drew the line on all of these, you would probably have carpal tunnel by the end of it. Charlotte says she recently finished Remixed Geese. It's a pattern from Robert Kaufman that has about 200 flying geese, and she used her AccuQuilt to cut them. That is handy. When they said this pattern was pre-cut, I was kind of hoping that it was going to be like AccuCut pre-cut, so that I would have had I wouldn't have to do the trimming section. But, life happens. Janice says, lovely pattern. Tiny Talkie Tina says, nice blue color. Yeah, I'm excited for the Sparkle More with the blues. I have the fabric, but it's upstairs. I need to bring it down. I brought it upstairs because I needed to scan the pattern, because I've gotten to the point, like, if I'm getting stuff, I want to scan it. That way I can have a catalog of the stuff that I have received, and in case I want to redo one of the quilts, I can just go back. Instead of keeping all the papers, I can go back and say, well, I did this quilt. Here's all the patterns that I need for this quilt. The problem is with the quilt shop programs, it doesn't tell us the fabric requirements except on a block by block basis. So if I want to do a whole quilt, I'm going to have to basically put it together, or not put all the fabric requirements math in Excel and figure out how much fabric I'm going to need. But that's besides the point. That would be for future Russ problems, if future Russ wants to redo a quilt pattern. Although I should probably be scanning these after I do it, in case I have to scribble notes and stuff. Because if there's a note you need, then yeah, I'm going to have to rescan it again. Charlotte says that Stitch in Heaven is closed today due to the storm. Yeah. My shop says they're staying open. And like I said, I feel like that's a safe bet for them based on what I've seen from the weather. But, and hopefully Monday, the roads are better by the time they decide that they're ready to open up. Or they may just do a delayed opening on Monday. Again, I'm not planning on going out. I'm hunkered in. The only time that I'm going outside is when Riley wants to go potty. But I've got quite a few of these flying geese done, or half done, I'm going to say. My pile of rectangles is down to this. So don't know how long this is going. Well, it's going to take me about less than an hour to finish, because that's how long it took me to get this far. And then I get the whole fun thing of pressing and trimming and pressing and trimming. But I can't continue to do a lot more work on this because I've got to get the cutting done for the sew-alongs that are starting next week. I got to get the Secret Garden sampler cut, which I don't have the copy of my pattern immediately here, so I would show you what the picture looks like, but I can't. And then yeah, I'm working on cutting for the rest of the weekend, except for tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. I will be live here with friends as we do the piano key borders for the Kona 365 block of the month. So I can't wait to sew with you next Saturday. Again, it's Sparkle More if you are interested in joining. And like I said, I'll try to make sure I get the pattern link up as quickly as I can. So maybe like right after I end this live, I'll put up the card for next week because I know what I'm sewing next week. Sewing for Sparkle More is always going to be the last Saturday of the month, just because the timing of when I get it from my local quilt shop. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay warm, and stay warm.